What's up? Joe here, Profit First Reseller. We're gonna have another chill session today. I'm just gonna say it right off the bat. Everyone in the family here is a little under the weather, but one of the benefits to working at home is that I'm not getting anybody sick continuing to work, so I'm gonna still work, just maybe a little slower than usual, or with a little bit of a scratchier voice. We're gonna get some extra ASMR action on this one with my gravelly voice. Anyway, I've been working on Wii remotes and nunchucks. I've mentioned before, that's probably the #1 selling item in our store. Just an easy replenishable item, and we happen to find a lot of it, and we've gotten some momentum on a single listing that is a Wii remote like this and a nunchuck like this, but it also has the silicone cover, it also has the battery back. But what I've been doing, I've been taking basically all of this inventory I've been accumulating for weeks and weeks, maybe months, and it was just mixed Wii remotes and nunchucks, and some had covers on them, and most of them had old crusty batteries. So I've parted everything out. All the batteries are disposed of, or the rechargeable ones I save, and I try to recharge those and then resell them. And I have a whole bin full of crusty old straps that I'm going to clean. I'll talk about that in just a sec. I have all the battery backs here that need to be clean, that have that crystallized residue all over them from leaky batteries. And then I also have this bin back here of those silicone covers of all the various colors. In fact, the red ones can be worth a few bucks on their own as a replacement for some of the special edition Wii Motion Plus remotes. But anyway, let's talk about how I handle a whole bunch of this stuff at once, because I don't want to have to clean as much as I can by hand. Now, all these Wii remotes, that's going to be my job the rest of the day probably, is just starting to clean and process these Wii remotes, which cannot go into the washing machine, unfortunately, having lots of sensitive electronics inside. I mean, I keep saying that, and then I'm like, could I? Maybe I should try that as an experiment one of these days. See if it makes it out and still works after it's... Of course, you have to fully dry it out for a couple of days to make sure all the internals are dried out. There's a possibility that might actually fix one of these if they had a lot of corrosion or something. Probably not. Anyway, squirrel brain, what are you gonna do? Here's the straps I'm working with right now. These are gross, so these are gonna get a couple of wash cycles. I'm gonna throw them in with this first wash, and then they're gonna get their own separate cycle. But all of this stuff is going to go into these mesh laundry bags that you put delicates into. So I'm gonna take all these straps, load it up into one of these. That's gonna go into my washing machine. Now this first wash is mostly to clean as much as I can these battery backs and the silicone covers. And the reason that I target these two first is that the main issue on these is what you'll see right here is that white crusty stuff. It tends to be the main issue that I want to get rid of. And it's also really irritating to my skin, wearing gloves, as you can see. And this stuff is just some kind of battery acid that leaks out of the batteries. No bueno. But if you do some research, you'll find that what easily cleans up acid like this, I try to knock off as much as I can to the trash before I throw this in the washing machine. But what cleans it up really well is just basic white vinegar. So I've got this huge thing of white vinegar. So what I'm going to do is also load these things up into a laundry bag like this, one of these mesh laundry bags. Also goes in the wash. And this first wash, I'm also going to dump all of these silicone covers in. These can go in loose. They're not going to clatter around. They're soft enough. So I'm just going to dump all these into my washing machine along with the battery covers in a mesh bag, along with these straps. They're going to get the first wash also in a mesh bag. And I'm going to put in 3 or 4 cups of white vinegar into my washing machine. No detergent, just the vinegar. And I'm going to do it on a hot cycle like your normal washing machine cycle. Turns out vinegar in your washing machine is actually really good for it. It will also help clean out any other residue that might be present, detergent or like mineral buildup in your washing machine. So doing a vinegar cycle every once in a while is actually good for your washing machine. And in this case, it's kind of doing double duty. It's also helping to dissolve and really does get rid of all that crystallized battery acid out of the nooks and crannies of those silicone covers, as the batteries tend to leak out and into the silicone covers, as well as these battery backs that are just full of that stuff, and you'll find your hands get quite irritated after a while. So these go straight into my washing machine with a bunch of vinegar, and that'll be my first cycle. And the reason I say first is that first vinegar cycle is not enough to really clean these to the point where they're back to white. Like, I will only reuse these straps if I can get them looking like really white at the tip of this, where it just absorbs a lot of body materials, I think. But I want to get them back to looking like really white, more like this guy. But that's going to take an additional cycle. So I'll keep these in the mesh bag. They just stay in the washing machine. I'll do a second cycle on a hot soak with some OxyClean and detergent. And that is usually enough to recover most of these back to a really nice white color as well. So I do a second cycle with just the straps with some detergent and OxyClean for whites, I believe. I think it's like an OxyClean whites. And that's it. So I'm gonna go throw those in the wash, and then I'll get back to processing Wii remotes, and we're gonna talk about some comments. So I'll see you in a second. Yo. Okay, I was just gonna bring up these comments here on my phone. Okay, so we'll get to those in a second here. Got everything in the washing machine. Yeah, wow. I'm sorry if I'm seeming a little out of it. Man, sickness is something else. But again, I'm not identifying it's sick. I've just got a lot of weird symptoms happening at once, but I'm still having a good time. I'm still gonna get my work done. And so essentially this is gonna be the first step, and hopefully one of the last steps for these Wii remotes, but there are a lot of steps, because after what I'm gonna do now, essentially, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a lot of steps here. This is a complicated project, right? So those are washing, we'll have to get those drying later on. Right now I'm gonna do my sorting and cleaning. So all I've done so far is just strip these Wii remotes of everything. They're just the bare Wii remotes, no strap, nothing, right? So I'm gonna go one by one, decide if they're even, so this one has like teeth marks all over it. So this one's just going straight to what I lovingly refer to as the graveyard. And I may just end up just throwing them in a pile back there. But I'll end up selling those in a 4-part slot to somebody else who wants to replace the cases or have some other use for them with the genuine insides, but with messed up outsides. And then if they pass that first step of inspections and they actually look good enough to maybe be worth testing and selling, the next step is to see if they do power on with batteries. And so I've got 2 sets of AA batteries here. Let me get nerdy about batteries for a second. These are very expensive AA batteries that are lithium batteries. They're still 1.5 volt, so they still work in all the same devices as your standard AA alkaline batteries. These AA batteries are the ones that I bundle in most of my electronics bundles. This is just the Amazon Basics industrial alkaline battery, and these go for between 17 and 20 cents each. Whereas these can be $1 or $2 each, or even more for the high-end lithium batteries. And these do provide a longer life, 2 or 3 times as long. They also provide more output on the spot. So if you were to put these more expensive lithium AA batteries versus the regular ones into a flashlight, the lithium ones, not only would they last longer, they'd be capable of producing a brighter beam if the bulb and the flashlight could support it, right? So just they're more capable. And I've noticed something. I used to test these Wii remotes with a single set of these cheap alkaline batteries. And I'd noticed after I tested 15 or 20 Wii remotes, the batteries would start not working properly. And I would think, I'd put them in the next set or the next Wii remote, and I'd think that maybe the Wii remote was broken, but actually it was the batteries not being able to work for at least a little while. I found that if I wait a little while, or even just a few seconds, these would be good again. But something about the demand of testing a whole bunch of remotes at once seemed to be too much for the standard alkaline batteries. And that is why I do my testing here with the slightly more reliable and 10 times more expensive lithium AA batteries. So I use these in our home life for things like smoke detectors that are like, mission critical. These have a 10-year at least shelf life. And so I like these high quality lithium batteries. Energizer makes a really good lithium battery as well. They're better, and they're also lighter. They're actually lighter weight than the alkaline, in addition to being better in every way except cost, of course. You can't have it all. So that is my little diatribe on batteries there. So I'm going to show you how I get my setup going. This is something that I've worked on over time. What I'm going to do is lay out at least 5 or 6 of these microfiber cloths, and this tower that I'm creating will only get taller over time. And what that helps with, I've found, is the most annoying part of cleaning these Wii remote controls, and that is this channel on the side that exists on both sides. I assume you can slide it in, or it helps it slide into accessories, but this channel on both sides just collects so much gross gunk. And so I've got a couple of tricks. I love these plastic sticker scrapers with the plastic like razor blades, even though they're just made out of plastic. And I just have a bunch of extra little razor blades. And so sometimes one of my strategies will be to drape a microfiber cloth over the channel. I'll drip rubbing alcohol in here, and then I'll use this thing to kind of smush the cloth into that channel and clean it out. So that way it works fairly well. So I might end up doing that. You'll see me doing that. But in addition, I found if I can just stack this tower up tall enough, right now I got 5, let's go one more, let's go with 6. There's actually enough material that if I just take this thing and I smoosh it down on the microfiber cloth and I rub it back and forth in the direction of the channel, that with enough pressure, I think that's enough to squish some of that extra fabric into that channel. And so all I need to do is just make sure that this is a little bit wet, or sometimes I'll grab one of my handy magic erasers, or melamine sponges is the off-brand term. Always have these around. You want to get the densest ones that you can find. That's going to last you the longest. And you can also wash these. I just save up the dirty ones. You can just throw them in the washing machine with a bunch of OxiClean detergent, and they come out looking pretty good. And you can use them again. I'm gonna get some rubbing alcohol here. And so I'll usually take this. Another technique, apparently I've been doing this a lot, for cleaning out, especially this gross channel here, is to just take one of the corners of your magic eraser, smush it in there with your thumb and kind of hold it, and then run it back and forth. And it especially helps if this magic eraser is already full of a cleaner. I use pretty much only rubbing alcohol. I will maybe be using some of that white vinegar that I had earlier. I don't know if I brought it back in here or not. I might have to go grab it later, but if I see any really gross of that battery acid that's taken over the inside, but the rest of this looks good and ready to resell, then I'll just use some of that vinegar. And that is really the best thing to dissolve those crystals that leak out of old batteries. So with all that being said, remote, 2 AA batteries. This remote is good enough that I will consider it. You can tell that it had a case on it. It's got like a little ring of grime where the grime got through the opening in the case, but it looks decent. So I'm gonna put them in here and we have liftoff. So I'm gonna do a check of all the batteries, make sure that all the batteries at least feel good for now. Okay, so that already puts me at 95 to 98% that this is gonna work, because Wii and Nintendo stuff in general is made to such a high quality that if it powers up, there's a very high likelihood that it works. So now I'm going to take my magic eraser with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to go back and forth on it here. And after I've gotten it relatively clean with just a few swipes on that front face, I'm now going to rub that on my microfiber cloth, and that kind of buffs it to looking really, really clean. And I'm essentially going to do the same on all sides. But we're going to take some extra time on this side, which is next, because there is some gunk buildup inside. So I'm first going to try just stuffing my magic eraser into that channel. And it seems to work pretty well. Oh man, I had my phone synced up, but it's already turned off. We haven't even gotten to the comments yet, but we'll get to them. So this one needs to go in a separate bin, but I don't have. Yes, I do. Perfect. Okay, so that's going to be my good remotes right there in front of me. And this is looking, actually I forgot the back side and the side. Just talking here. Gotta make sure to inspect all the sides. So the Wii is great. You do need to be careful, especially with any of the printed parts on the front. So the magic erasers in general are very abrasive. They're basically like a mild sandpaper. And so they will eventually rub off paint. Even paint that is really well printed on there. So this Wii part, that printed on Wii on the very bottom, it should be like that obviously, that you can eventually rub off with a magic eraser. So you need to be gentle with your strokes. That's almost just something that I've learned, is you never want to scrub back and forth really quickly on anywhere where there's going to be some printed material. You're going to rub that ink right off. But for something like this, so on the very bottom it has engraved or engraved, right? Like the letters that are sunken into the plastic itself, like part of the plastic mold that says the model number and stuff. That can accumulate a lot of gunk, and that's perfect for the magic eraser. You can squish it in there, and with enough pressure, it works its way into those crannies. You just kind of twist back and forth. This one looks completely great, but sometimes you can see the letters as if they're filled in, and they are literally filled in with dirt. So that is its own job. All right, one down. We're 9 minutes into this recording, and we've cleaned one Wii remote. But I've educated some people. So hopefully worldwide, we've cleaned more Wii remotes. Hopefully. We've contributed to more Wii remotes being brought into the world, ready to be used and played. This is, I think this part where you're taking an item and you're adding value in your own unique way. So for me, it's this cleaning and testing. I love this stuff. This is the part that I feel like is on the most ethical end of reselling. So everybody talks about scalpers, and sometimes I feel like their job is very similar to mine. But I think there's one key difference between what I do here and say somebody who's buying up all the Taylor Swift concert tickets just to resell them at a higher price. Is I actually believe that I'm increasing the supply of this particular item in the world, right? Like these particular Wii remotes were probably destined for the landfill or somewhere else. And I don't know where these people had plans with if I wasn't gonna buy them, right? But wherever these were going was probably not gonna be to the open market on the world's largest online marketplace for used goods, ebay.com, helping to contribute to and even create like the actual market price for an item. And I think if anything, bring it down because I'm adding more available to the world. Whereas a scalper is not bringing more of a product to the world. They, at the end of the day, are just increasing the price by introducing one more middleman at least to the existing product that is already unlimited supply. I think that's why it seems a little more icky to me. And so I'm gonna stay away from that side of it. I really wanted to lean into the side of upcycling and repurposing, and why I feel so on board with most clothing resellers, because what you're doing, I don't do clothing for the most part, so I'm going to give you all the credit. But in order to sell clothes and to bring them back on the market, you are potentially reducing the demand for new clothing, which I think is probably better for the environment. If we can just get the clothing that was already made, if you can figure out how to wash it, take pictures of it, and get it back to someone else, maybe that's one more t-shirt that they don't buy from a brand new manufacturer, and instead we are reusing the same stuff that's available in the world. I resonate with that as well. So I think, anyway, that's my little rant, I guess, but I would consider that the more ethical side of reselling. There's all kinds of ways to buy something and sell it for higher, but for a higher price. It's not all created equal. So, I did this in reverse order. So I was just about to get to comments. We were on a good roll here, and this one looked so good. I think I got a little bit cocky, but I cleaned it before I tested it. And we got no lights, so that's already failing the first test. So I saw a little bit of battery corrosion in here, but it looked like maybe some bad batteries were in there for a little while. I believe these little foam pads up here are kind of meant to sacrificially absorb that gross juice that leaks out of bad batteries. And there was some buildup on one of the sides, but the connectors look good. Still nothing. All right, so what I'm gonna do, this one goes into the graveyard, unfortunately. Goodbye. We'll see you again in a parked slot on eBay in a day or two. And I'll see you in just a minute after I restart this video so I can get the comments back on the screen over here and talk about some of y'all's comments from the last few videos. Pow. Okay, we should have the thing up on the screen here somewhere. It might be a little bit delayed. I started this a second or two before I started the camera. I try to start them at the exact same time so they're relatively synced, but hey. We're doing it live here, folks. I do have some comments I wanted to talk about. The first one is, again, from Adam Sam, who's been leaving so many thoughtful comments. Thank you. Said, that makes sense, talking about the video in general. But speaking of shipping, what type of label printers do you use for your business? Do you have any affiliate link? So I I realized I have literally used the exact same printer for my entire business, and that is the basic Rollo wired USB printer. I have used it for every single one of my labels. I think over 40,000 labels that I've printed off of the same one. A few times it has started to get a little bit spotty in the print quality, and all you need to do is literally take one of these, a magic eraser with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and you just clean, you open up the little flap on the Rollo printer, and it just means some of those contacts have gotten a little bit dirty from all the stuff running through it over the years. And I've literally only had to do this a couple of times over the multiple years that I've had this, but you just clean it, dry it off. Again, with the only other thing that I have on hand, but it happens to be perfect, is a microfiber cloth. Make sure everything's super dry. And then sometimes you have to run a couple labels through, and then eventually it starts printing perfectly clearly and clean again. You don't have to buy ink or anything, of course. So literally all you got to do is buy labels. The thing just keeps pumping out the shipping labels. So yeah, I've used the exact same printer. I do have a secondary one that I just bought on Amazon that's a lot cheaper. Just a basic, it was maybe 50 or 60 bucks, and it was just an off-brand that happened to be on sale. The Rollo is something like $200. It's more like the premium brand among the shipping labels, and I've really not noticed much of a difference. So if you want to go cheaper, you probably can, but I don't know about the reliability. But as far as the Rollo, that thing has been a complete workhorse. So I would buy it again as my main unit, and then probably, like I have, maybe buy a cheaper one as a secondary one. Just at this stage, I like to have two of everything, but it's an expensive printer, 200 bucks. And if the other one works just as good most of the time, can probably use that for a while, maybe try to get a warranty repair or something. So anyway, enough chatting about all of that. Oh yeah, I have my phone here just so I can refer to it, but I think we already talked about that. Next comment is from Many Tiny Projects 3803, and they said, thanks for your content. Could you add the CD repair machine to your list that you use and like, or make an Amazon likes group? I'd like to buy one and make sure you get an Amazon credit for it. Okay, gosh, okay, this seems like I'm doing an ad, so I should skip through these. If you want to click the affiliate links, I do think it's one of the better ways that content creators can make money, because essentially it's just taking a few pennies from Amazon and you end up paying the same price, and it pays back content creators like me. So if you want to click the links down below, that's great. But I don't have an affiliate link for this machine, and I wanted to talk about it actually, because they're talking about my Elm Eco Pro 2. So I just looked it up on the website, and this machine alone costs $1,895, so essentially $1,900. And then of course it's probably shipping and all that. So I'm sure you're in for well over $2,000 to buy one of these machines, right? And then you have to buy usage cards from them. So they give you a starter card that allows you to use the machine for like 30 minutes or 50 minutes or something. And it sounds like no time at all. It's more time than you think, because the time only counts when you're actually physically cleaning the disc, and the standard cleaning cycle is 30 seconds. So I think it was maybe a 50-minute starter card that they give you for free when you buy your $1,900 machine. And so that equates to around 100 discs. Now, if the disc has heavy scratches, sometimes you would want to double or even quadruple that amount. So some discs require 1 minute or even 2 minutes on the machine. And again, you only have 50 minutes with a starter card. And then you have to buy an additional 800 minutes, and it also comes with the refills for the solution and stuff. I think that's like $100 or something. All that is to say, I bought one 800-minute card, and I have put through, well, I'm down to like 300 and something minutes on it, so I probably put through hundreds and hundreds of discs on it. And at this point, I'm not even a year in, maybe around a year to owning this machine. It is easily paid for itself. In fact, I was kicking myself because I just before I got the machine, I had just sold a whole bunch of Wii sports discs as 4 parts repair, and I could have tried to repair most of them and probably could have made a ton of money. But that feeling of loss of like, man, if I'm going to continue to get games like this, I should just try to fix them myself instead of selling them in bulk to someone on eBay who's probably doing the same thing, trying to fix them themselves. So that's when I just I think I waited until I had a fairly sizable stack of games that I wanted to resurface and make some of the money back right away. And then I went ahead and pulled the trigger. And there's also a little attachment you can buy. That's another, I don't know, $30 or $50 or something if you want to do GameCube discs. So all the prices are so inflated when you think about what it actually is. Like you're buying 800 minutes of use on the machine for like $100, and really what you're buying is like a tiny little SD card and a bottle of compound. And it's kind of crazy, but you're also buying support from the company in a way. And the machine, you know, even though the business practices are a little bit sketchy, as I say here in my reply, as I'm just kind of like verbally kind of rehashing, I think that's kind of a sketchy business practice, to be honest, of this company Elm to lock their machines to minutes where the minutes are ticking down and you have to pay them for more minutes to operate the machine that you already bought from them. So not my favorite business practice, just happens to be, for me, the best quality machine. It's so easy to maintain. I bought a few extra sets of pads as well, and the machine's a workhorse. I can do dozens and dozens of discs in a day. I just throw one in, I get back to work, it beeps, I go grab another one. For my scale, it works perfectly. The same company also makes the $20,000 machines that the, you know, Chase After the Right Prices and the Phoenix Resells of the world. They have those big, super high volume machines where you can load up a spindle of 50 discs at a time. So I don't think I'm at that scale yet, and that's more like a $20,000 machine from what I remember. But for me, this has been working great. I've literally run hundreds of discs through it and made tons of money. I probably made back the money and more for the machine. So it's the Elm, ELM Eco Pro 2 is the one that I use. That is one of their lower priced machines and works great for me. So the guy on the phone, I talked to a sales rep, kind of tells you what kind of margins they're working with. Plenty. I talked to the sales rep over at Elm, and he said this particular machine was designed for libraries, which I thought was cute. Even though the beep is so loud, and I don't know if there's a way to disable that beep, but that seems like it would be inappropriate for a library. Anyway, thank you, Many Tiny Projects, 3803. So yeah, something to look into, but definitely be aware that like it is a high upfront cost and fairly high ongoing costs, but the machine literally does the job that you want it to do. And when you're talking about making money, then you just got to factor in those costs and just be aware of them. So definitely check out their store, be aware of all those costs going into it. And good luck. Here's another comment here from eBay seller 965. If you ever change your mind, you can use list perfectly to cross list, and it will automatically delist sold items, and you can manage everything from list perfectly, including listing. I unfortunately have 4,000 items, so it's a slow process to transfer all the items. Okay, so what eBay seller 965 was talking about, in this video, I was just explaining why I don't cross list, because I found that the time that I spent managing all the cross listing was and is better spent just continuing to list items into my main store and my main income stream, which is eBay. But the dream, like if everything was fully automated, cross listing still is the dream. If literally all I had to do was set it up once and I could be selling all my items on another platform, I would love to see it working perfectly, and especially with a few people, and especially at my scale of maybe 30 items or so per day, and to see it working flawlessly, because eBay really, really penalizes for that particular defect of canceling for being out of stock. And so I really, really am hesitant to list the inventory that I have listed on eBay on another marketplace, just in case it would sell on the other marketplace and I'd ship it. It didn't get delisted on my eBay store. Obviously, this is just the problem that so many people who do cross-listing run into, is that problem of double selling an item. Again, another working one, looking good. We've had some good luck so far. A bunch of working reader modes, but this is slow. This is slow work, so glad I got something to chat about here. Yeah, so this particular eBay seller 965 said I'm still new to it, so hopefully it works out. I'll let you know in about 6 months how it's going. Yeah, that's awesome. Can't wait to hear. Thank you. Let's say KO Game Pop Culture said, I was looking at your feedbacks on eBay and you have a lot of the same complaints, like games not working or very dirty. Are you working out how to change that? Also, the way you throw the Wii controllers in the box hurts my video game collector's soul, but your video is inspiring who sells things online like myself, and I'm just doing a side hustle. So cool. Thank you for your comment. And thanks for I always welcome that feedback that might be constructive, or you could kind of see it as negative or positive, but constructive in a way of maybe pointing out something that I could do better. And I always appreciate that. So yes, I do have a lot of the same complaints, I guess. I think what people do is they go to an eBay profile. I've never done this myself, but I guess you can click and just only look at the negatives. Like, I'm sure I've done that on my own before. I guess that's why I know you can do it, but I've never done that on somebody else's profile because, again, I'm just going to assume those are the people who are having a bad day. When I am evaluating personally an eBay profile, if I'm trying to decide if I want to buy someone or not, I just look at their 20 or so most recent feedbacks. And if they're all positive and I'm like, well, chances are I'm not going to be the one with a negative if they've gotten 20 in a row. So let's go with that. If they're on a recent, you just got to run the numbers, I guess. And so in this case, yeah, I mean, I do have a handful, a couple dozen, I guess, in my career of these negatives or neutrals, which also count as negatives, basically on eBay. And some of them are for the same reason. Again, I've sold so many games, so many games. And yes, I have had a few people out of the however many that claimed that the disc didn't work. Now here's my side of the story. A lot of the time, I'd say at least half the time, I get those discs back and I test them on my console and I'm like, they're working fine, which makes me wonder maybe the lens or the disc reader mechanism on their console, maybe it isn't working properly because I'm able to play it, go through the levels, and I've questioned, like, what do they see in this? Maybe, I think sometimes they actually just change their mind and maybe they don't want to say that to make sure that they're able to return it and try to get their money back. I don't know what's going on in people's heads, right? But from my perspective, if you're curious about my side of the story, at least that's all I can offer. A lot of those negative comments, like those were for games that still, when I got them back, they seemed to be working fine. So I'm not sure what was going on with those. Let's see. MSG's Treasures said, Dude has sold 45,000 items and has 23 negatives and 24 neutrals. That's not bad, LOL. Thank you. I mean, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Like, yeah. Disneyland, Walt Disney World has a ton of negative reviews, as J-Ride has said before, but most people walk out of there having a great time, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure a few people have come to my store and left for whatever reason with a bad feeling, but the vast majority of people, and even the vast majority of people that leave feedback, right? Because that's 99.2% positive feedback on my account over this entire journey with all the mistakes that I've made and all the late shipping that was out of my control, all that stuff, right? And that's I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, it's a handful. And again, I have my side of the story. Like some of those were certainly mistakes of mine, honest mistakes, but some of those, I think that was on them. So anyway, I don't worry too much about it. If I see anything above 95%, and again, the recent feedback seems to be overall positive, I'm in. I'm buying it. I mean, I know eBay is going to let me return it if the item doesn't work out, but personally, I am not super picky when it comes to my own buying decisions. I'm more price sensitive. If the price is right, I'll give it a shot on eBay. So I think a lot of you know what I mean there. Okay, and then they did follow up and say, but they are all the same complaints not working when the ad says tested, an item very dirty. This is what I said, and mostly just about video games, and in those 45K, it's not just video games. So that's a good point. Out of the 45,000 items that I've sold, that's not 45,000 video game discs, right? And out of those, if I've had a lot of the same complaints, I think that's a valid criticism. I think I could possibly do better in my testing. There are some there's some quirks to testing discs, right? Like even when the disc spins up, the different parts of a game are located on different parts of the disc. And I might test a game to a certain level, but it's actually level 12, or the area on the disc where level 12 is stored that might have a little imperfection that I didn't see, or a little nick that wasn't able to be buffed out by my machine. And so I think a lot of those, are honest mistakes, and I'll take it. I mean, I'll take it. When you sell video games in bulk, you're gonna get some returns, and I strive to be always better, but you got to understand that perfection is never a reality. Like, I'm gonna try to deliver a positive customer experience 99+% of the time, and I'm just gonna recognize that we're all human, and I accept returns, and we're all gonna do our best. And I try to make sure that everybody leaves with a positive experience. Of course, that is my goal. So let's see, where were we? Yeah, so I love, thank you for the criticism. I appreciate it. Kogala, KO Games, Game Pop Culture. KO Game Pop Culture. I assume Korean, but I'm not sure. Another comment here from the Aussie Nurse Flipper 8113 says, interesting, you don't do combined shipping. I've heard kimchi is very good for you, but I don't like seafood. I might have to try this vegan one. Cheers, Graham. Yeah, Graham. So I also don't like the taste of the seafood part of kimchi. So in this particular brand that I like, they have two versions, a vegan and a regular. And from what I can tell, the only difference is that shrimp paste or shrimp powder, some kind of shrimp item is added to this fermented product. And I just don't like the way that fermented shrimp tastes. I taste what it's adding. It is adding a new component of flavor, but it is not for me. So I love that vegan kimchi. It's more like a spicy sauerkraut without that fishiness, right? It is literally just the cabbage and the spices. And so I find it really satisfying. And it also is giving you food and nutrients and prebiotics, like that healthy fiber from the cabbage, also probiotics. So I'm getting like living fermented kimchi. So instead of taking a probiotic pill, which I've never seen results from personally, and I don't take anymore, instead I try to get a regular variety of fermented foods in my diet. And so kimchi, sauerkraut, all in there. I love them all. I love just regular sauerkraut with the big whole caraway seeds in it. That's what I've got in the fridge right now to pair with my eggs, and that's so good. So yeah, so I will talk a little bit as I try to get myself to clean more weed remotes here. But hey, this is fun. This is actually, I'm starting to recognize how much this actually can add to my enjoyment of my life, of just learning to document what I'm doing in my day-to-day, I guess. Because I'm not feeling my best today. I was considering kind of taking a sick day. I'm still going to get my work done here, but I didn't get as much work as I would have gotten done on an ideal day. But I just appreciate that this makes it a lot more fun. So I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon here. It's almost 5 o'clock, so I'm going to go have some family time with the kids. But I want to talk about a few more comments here real quick. So I don't combine shipping by default on any of my items, but I'm always open to negotiation, and I often offer $4, $5, $6 off per item if somebody asks if they're interested. But it depends on the item. Some items I kind of think I can get full price for them, and so I'm not in a hurry to offer combined shipping. And one of the reasons I don't offer combined shipping is I found that when you start off with offering combined shipping, so often customers also want additional money off per item. Like, okay, can I get combined shipping and also $2 off per item? And that just starts cutting into all my fun profits. I did not enjoy fulfilling those orders as much. I would rather just wait for the customers that are willing to pay the full price for shipping, is what I found. Internally, I just didn't feel as good with those orders. I don't think they're as profitable. So again, I'm open to negotiation, but I don't offer that by default. And that way I can then say, yes, I'll give you a bulk shipping discount, and the maximum discount that I'm offering them is a modest discount on combined shipping. And there's not an additional bargaining chip of, can I get combined shipping, as if that's just the baseline. No, combined shipping is your bonus in my business, basically. So that's how I treat it. So it's like a bargaining chip that I'm giving my customer, but I'm gonna let them ask for it first, if that makes sense. So A couple more real quick. Yeah, how do you activate it? So this is from live from the listing room 3914. So how do you activate it? They were talking, referring to a short that I did about how I have my listings go out of stock and then I just kind of bring them back to life. And so essentially all of my listings at this point just live in my active listings unless I end the listing myself manually. And so after an item sells, it stays in my active listings part of my eBay app, but it just has quantity 0. And I don't believe it will pop up anymore if somebody searches for it on eBay because it's not available for sale anymore, but it still exists in my store. You still have to pay for it with your store subscription as well. But what that allows me to do is to just go back into my active listings, hit revise, and update the quantity from 0 to 1. And that basically activates it or brings it back to life. I don't know, I'm sure I use a whole bunch of different terminology there, but I mean the same thing with all of it essentially. And once you bring the inventory back to 1 or 2 or whatever, then it will start showing up on search again, but with a 1 sold or a 2 sold under it to signal to the other customers that you sold this item before, but you have more available to sell to them. All right, let's see. OOJ says, the intersection of following profit first principles and being an introvert means your channel particularly speaks to me. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. I'd like to know what it was like being an introvert at the bins. I go from time to time and it can be a very tense, competitive, and crowded situation. I find myself coming home super tired just from being in that environment. Not so much the physicality of picking. What was your strategy? I can imagine after some time of going every day, wow, you developed some kind of flow and method to manage. Would be interested to know what that was. Thanks, Corinth. Wow, what a nice comment. So thank you, Corinth. I'm just going to read my response. I think it sums it up, but I wanted to kind of share it with y'all because if you can relate to being a shopper at the bins and an introvert, it is hard. So here's my advice. Hi, oh my gosh, I totally get it. It can be exhausting shopping at the bins for hours. I used to literally put my hood up on my hoodie, also AirPods in, sometimes not even playing anything, just signaling to other people that for that time, during when the bins were coming out, my job was to work. Handling chatting to other people and sorting hundreds of items was too much for my brain to handle gracefully. I used to get into a mindset of expect nothing, inspect everything. I would just try to calm my mind and start at one end of a bin and touch or look at every single item in a methodical fashion. When I'd done that to every single bin, it was then okay to remove the hoodie and AirPods and check in with everyone else, as in all the other, Goodwill bin shoppers, because that is so much a part of the fun of shopping at the bins is talking to the other people about what they found as well. But yeah, you get it. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be an introvert at the bins. And I used to just have to, I stopped looking for things. I think that was my biggest unlock. When I talk about that mindset of expect nothing, I think it's a lot easier at the Goodwill bins to just stop looking for things and to just start looking at everything and just try to take it in, touch it, especially with clothing. So much of the time you can feel quality. It starts to become the same with electronics. You can feel quality in the cords, the thickness of the copper, the suppleness of the rubber, the quality of the plastic, the transparency or translucency of it. In the light, you can tell how quality the plastic are, all these different things. Just touch everything, and that is how you really don't let things slip through the cracks, and you find those things that the other people miss in that initial rush, and you're just slowly going through. A few minutes later, the bins might only be a few minutes old, but everyone else has moved on and there's still a lot of good stuff in that bin. I think that's the way to do it. Slow and methodical. So let's see. Okay, I've got one more here, and I wanted to share this comment as well to finish up. Oh, it's just so cool. KDT Resale says, I'm in the group also, referring to the Tech and Sports Facebook group and Patreon, all that. I'm a member as well. It's kind of like a mastermind call. It's totally worth it. Tech and Sports. He's on YouTube. Check him out. KDT Resale says, I'm in the group also. Best money ever spent. The amount of life and business lessons I have learned from tech, there's no price that can be put on how valuable that is. My why, so we were talking about in this video, our whys, right? Mr. Exquisite actually asked this comment initially, and it got me thinking about it. My why is my child with special needs. No regular job will allow me to take off 3 to 4 weekdays for appointments and therapy. Excuse me. He had a feeding tube, so no daycare works take him. I started out of necessity, and once he started school, I joined the group 3 years ago or so. I am where I am because of the group. Why, we might seem like it's a cult, but what an advantage we have than trying to figure it out all on our own. Oh, so well said. So well said. What an advantage we have than trying to figure it out all on our own. My why is to be able to have the flexibility to care for my child. I'm grateful this business exists. No job would allow me to miss most days of the week. I can do reselling about what he needs, and it's amazing. Thank you for all you share. Glad I found your channel. Well, I got chills. There's nothing more I can say. You're amazing. KDT Resell, I look up to you. I got tears in my eyes, and I'm Joe, Profit First Reseller. Until next time, I'll see you in the comments.